Mason Greenwood has given the green light to a move to a top Italian club, reports do suggest. Meanwhile, Inos are holding out for the best bid to come through for a player who is causing a lot of confusion and a bit of division, I should say, in Manchester United, but without a doubt, such an important player for Manchester United. Welcome to the United Sport. Like and share this video. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Let's get proper into this transfer talk as we do wait and hold on for whether Erik Ten Hag will be sacked or he will stay. The week is ending and we are expecting a confirmation very soon. But not that that's all we should be waiting for. There is news that's coming through concerning Mason Greenwood. First of all, Ineos, in their attempt to get clubs to step up their bids for Greenwood, first confirmed him that they retained him with the team. They put him on the website in the confirmation to say he is staying with us, just to send a message to these clubs that were trying to take us for a ride, trying to cut down on the what I think is already so little amount of money Ineos are hoping to get from him, because Ineos, according to what we get, are hoping to get at least 34 million pounds for Mason Greenwood. If you ask me, that's peanuts. Clubs should be pouncing and competing to pay that money, but for some reason they feel that's too much and they're trying to cut down on his value to get less than that. Honestly, in this day and age, and Ineos have made it clear, if you're not meeting our valuation of Mason Greenwood, we would rather find ways of reintegrating him back into the squad. In all honesty, in all fairness, for me, I hope they go for the last option and reintegrate him back into the squad, because the first step was them confirming that they have retained him on their website. They did not put any star on him, so meaning that's progress. For me, I hope no club meets whichever amount of money they want, but I honestly think they should value Greenwood at not less than 100 million. That's my honest truth. But because he's a homegrown player, his talent that we identified while a baby and nurtured him, they are saying 34 million pounds will be profit. That's the evaluation of a player. Just because we didn't buy him, we nurtured him. So I'm thinking, if we wanted to sell Kobe Maino right now, because he's a player we nurtured, we would sell him for less than 100 million or 150 million because he's homegrown. It doesn't make sense. But here's the thing: reports from Italy suggesting that Mason Greenwood himself has given the green light for talks to proceed between Manchester United and Juventus, because he feels that's the club he would go to. Remember, Juventus themselves are restructuring. They just parted ways with Maximiliano Allegri, their manager. They have certainly been one of those clubs together with Atletico, some other English clubs as well, by the way, that have shown interest in Mason Greenwood. But Greenwood feels Juventus, being the big giants they are, has had players like Pirlo play for them, players like Zinedine Zidane. He feels that's a club that could suit him. Honestly, for me, if he doesn't want to return to Manchester United, and it's so important him wanting to return and play for Manchester United, if he doesn't want to return, I think Juventus is a club he can go for. And trust you me, I'll get another club to support. I'll support two clubs, Man United and Kobe, and Juventus if he joins Juventus. So he says he has given the green light for Juventus now, but Juventus are coming out with an interesting structure to their bid. They still think they can convince Ineos to take less than 34 million pounds, which is the reported fee that Ineos want. Now, what they are trying to do is get another English winger, Samuel Ling Jr., and he's a former academic boy at Chelsea, but he's at Juventus now. Played a few games. He's only 20 years of age. Promising player, but nowhere close to Greenwood. And to prove that, his valuation, because Spurs too wanted to sign him, but they were quoted about 15.5 million pounds. Now that's less than half of the price of Mason Greenwood. Less than half. So this is the player they're trying to say, you give us Greenwood, we give you Samuel Ling Jr. and a little bit of cash, and maybe a little bit of cash in a swap deal. That's the idea, the creative, so-called smart idea Juventus are coming out with. And I look at all these things and I'm thinking, unless Manchester United are not really serious about rejuvenating themselves, about coming back up to top performances, we cannot swap Greenwood for such a player. If we want to swap Greenwood, want to get rid of him for whichever reason, I think Greenwood should be spoken about in swap deals with players like Vinicius Jr., players like Lamar, who is among the golden boys of Europe, with Kobe and together the Kobe and the likes. Because again, you don't swap Greenwood for a player who is not anywhere close to his level. Greenwood's level is as high as Vinicius Jr., is as high as Lamine Yamal, the Barcelona kid, his senior old wonder boy. Players like Valverde, These are the players with which we should be speaking about swapping Mason Greenwood. If there is a swap involvement, it should be with a player who is close to Greenwood, because Greenwood is world class. Even when he went through his ordeal, for me, what he showed playing at a team like Getafe, Greenwood is world class. He's a world class footballer. If there are debates about Bukayo Saka being world class or not, Greenwood is as good as the Cole Palmers, the very best of his age. That's how good Mason Greenwood is. He's even far ahead of most of them. So you cannot be talking about a swap deal involving an unknown Samuel Ling Jr. And no, never mind him being young, even if they're adding cash, for me, I think it's blasphemy, it's disrespect to Man United, and I don't think it has got to that point where we are that desperate. Because I've been looking critically at the realistic things that Inos can do in this summer transfer window. Because the reality is we can't sign about 6 players or 8 players. We need to boost this squad with so many players. We can't sign all of them in one summer. We don't even have that money. I was thinking, and if you look at this starting 11, that I think could be a realistic starting 11 for Manchester United next season. I look at Luke Shaw. If he's playing the Euros and he's fit, he's the best left back. If Luke Shaw is staying, yes, we are then saving money to wait for another window to sign a left back. So have Luke Shaw in left back. Have your Tyrell Malaysia as a backup. If Malaysia is not returning to fitness, we can bring in a left back of about 20 million pounds or 15 million pounds thereabout. So that's 20 million pounds, let's say, spent on a left back, but not a starter. Luke Shaw is still the starter. Central defense, bring your Todibo for 40 million pounds. That's 60 million pounds. Right back, bring in Jeremy Frimpong for about 30 million pounds. That's for the 60 plus 30, that's 90 million pounds spent. Those are 3 players signed, and only 2 of those are starters in the first team. Then in the middle, bring your Neves, who should be our most expensive, for about 70 million pounds, or at most 80. So add 90 plus 80, that's 170 million pounds spent. Then bring a backup striker for Rasmus Højlund, Sahu Girassi, at about 15 million pounds. Then bring Greenwood back and reintegrate Jadon Sancho back into the squad, because honestly, we are not going to get a team that is going to meet the wages of Jadon Sancho and also pay him the 350,000 pounds per week. So we might be stuck with Jadon Sancho. We might find ways of reintegrating him into the squad. The same way we can reintegrate Mason Greenwood. That way, you're forming that starting 11 you're looking at that has got Mason Greenwood, Garnacho, Højlund up top, Bruno, and Neves playing next to Kobe, Frimpong on the right, Shaw on the left, Todibo, and Martinez. That is a good fast start in the next summer transfer window. So, but you realize that in all that, the biggest capture would be bringing back Mason Greenwood. The biggest impact we would get would be having Greenwood back in the squad. So you don't tell me such a player, because if we bring Greenwood back, we wouldn't need to spend money. What about Michael Olise? We wouldn't need to spend money on Michael Olise. Amad Diallo would ably play backup for Mason Greenwood, be number 2. Greenwood can be a 10. When Bruno is not there, Greenwood can start in 10. Amad can start on the right. Sancho too can play 10, can pass through the middle. Even Amad can play 10. So there are so many players. So these are so many players can back up each other in the rotation. That's a good start in a summer, because my worry is people are excited that we are linked with so many players. We are going into a summer. Even if we have the money, I'm not for us going into buying so many players in one window. Then we might not get the results we want. I think it's a process. Integrate players back into this squad, because for me, the structure that has been bad. If we bring in so many players, sign Branthwaite, sign Todibo, sign Frimpong, sign a left back, sign a holding midfielder Neves, sign a backup striker, sign Michael Olise, all in one window, we are not changing anything. We are still doing exactly what we saw being done by Inos. For me, honestly, Mason Greenwood is a key pillar in what Inos are trying to build. And if no one is giving worthy money, honestly, keep him. But if a club comes and they are giving you at least 80 million pounds, in this summer, you can say, okay, we love Greenwood, but just to have a fresh start, not go back into this back and forth with fans who don't like him and all, let's lose him. But even if the player himself doesn't want to return, because there's that possibility, they should be able to sell him for the right fee. £34 million for Mason Greenwood for me is us really, stealing from ourselves. It's us denying ourselves money from an asset, trigger his contract extension, and pay him for the right fee. If not, take the risk and reintegrate him back into the squad. What is the worst that can happen? For me, that's my take on this whole Mason Greenwood. Juventus is coming, but their offer for me doesn't excite me at all. Even if they offer two players, Bremer and Samuel Ling Jr., and some cash, it will still not be exactly worth it. That's what I think. Subscribe, like, and share as we do wait for whether or not Erik Ten Hag will stay at Manchester United.